On the banks of the Piscataqua River in Elliott, Maine, stands an historic edifice. Built as a resort hotel in 1899, the Greenacre Inn became the site for international conferences focused on peace, racial unity, gender equality, and other progressive ideals. Who was its founder? What did she believe? Why is she associated with peace? And why was the inn eventually named after her? Sarah Farmer was the daughter of transcendentalists sympathetic to people living in bondage and experiencing oppression. Their home in Dover, New Hampshire became a way station on the Underground Railroad. Friends included reformers such as Sojourner Truth and Harriet Beecher Stowe, both of whom came to their home to visit, as well as Harriet Tubman, Julia Ward Howe, and other progressive leaders. Moses Farmer was an inventor who pioneered in the telegraph field and created the fire alarm system. He also constructed the technology for an electromagnetic locomotive. Hannah Farmer was a philanthropist who helped save the Old North Church in Boston from being torn down. During the Civil War, she sent supplies to Southern hospitals. In Elliott, she created Rosemary Cottage, a summer retreat for poor mothers and their children from Boston. When Sarah was 1, they moved to Salem, Massachusetts, where Moses was appointed operator in the Salem Telegraph Office. When Sarah was 12, Moses lit up their parlor with a row of incandescent lights, the first time electricity had been used to provide lighting. Thomas Edison was only 12 then. Sarah spent her teen years in Salem. She was smart and well-liked, and at graduation served as the valedictorian of her high school. In 1872, when Sarah was 25, her family moved from Salem to Newport, Rhode Island, where Moses served as a professor of electrical science and a consultant to the U.S. Navy. But Moses became seriously ill, and Sarah's health was poor. They decided to move to Elliott, Maine, Hannah's family home, to enjoy the benefits of country living. Sarah found herself caring for both parents and had what was then called a nervous collapse, then benefited by the popular cure of an extended trip to Europe. On the ship, Sarah had an image of herself as vain and selfish. She vowed to devote the rest of her life to service. At home, Sarah revived the Elliott Library Association and organized evenings of discussions on literature. She spoke in churches and other venues to raise library funds. The poet John Greenleaf Whittier was a family friend, and she persuaded him to donate an entire collection of books. Today, over the mantel in a room of Elliott's William Fogg Library, hangs a beautiful portrait of Sarah and her dog Barry. In 1889, 4 men formed the Elliott Hotel Company to build a resort hotel in Elliott. On March 1, 1890, Sarah signed an agreement to become the 5th partner of the venture. In 1891, Hannah died. To distract her mind from her troubles, Sarah attended lectures in Boston. One day in June 1892, she had a vision of Greenacre as a place where various philosophies and religions could find expression. In March 1893, Moses and Sarah went to Chicago to exhibit some of his inventions at the World's Columbian Exposition, also known as the Chicago World's Fair. Moses exhibited his light bulb and electric car at the fair, but became ill with pneumonia and died there. Sarah, deep in grief, returned to Elliott. A few months later, a Parliament of the World's Religions was held in Chicago as part of the Columbian Exposition. Sarah returned to Chicago just after the closing of the Parliament. She met with its organizer and invited Vivekananda, a Hindu from Calcutta, and Dharamapala, a Buddhist from Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, to speak at Greenacre. That following summer, in 1894, Sarah dedicated Greenacre to the ideals of peace and religious unity. Then she had the first known peace flag in the world raised and explained, In looking for an emblem, we wanted something that would be a call to everybody and fit everybody, and we felt that the message that had been brought to the world by prophet after prophet was the message of peace. So we've put on a large banner over our heads, Peace. The peace flag was 36 feet long with green letters on a white background. It hung on an 85-foot pole created from 2 ships' masts tied together. During the next decade, Greenacre and Sarah became known in many circles. Educators and social reformers came to exchange views. By 1897, Greenacre was much publicized in the United States and known around the world. Discussion topics were quite advanced. Evolution was a hot topic, and participants at Greenacre often took a progressive look at the debate over it. Race, too, was a subject that provoked divisions, yet Sarah supported social advancement with a Work in Education project where African American families from the South spent time in Maine. People of color were invited to lecture, the most prominent of whom were George Washington Carver and W.B. Du Bois. In 1903, an article in the Boston Sunday Journal reported, "Years ago, intellectual Boston would have gone out to Concord for spiritual regeneration. Today, the inner circle of intellectual Boston goes to Greenacre." Despite favorable activities and development, there were difficulties. Many wondered if she should be in charge of the programs and operations. Financial difficulties prevailed. Distraught, Sarah left for a cruise with her friend Mariah Wilson. On January 3, 1900, they boarded a ship bound for the Mediterranean, joining 2 old friends who were going to Acre, Palestine, now Israel, to visit Abdu'l-Baha, the son of the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah. There, Abdu'l-Baha confirmed her vision for Greenacre, and she felt she had found a path representing universal truths. In 1904, a war raged between Russia and Japan, but peace continued to be promoted at Greenacre. The following year, Portsmouth, New Hampshire was chosen as a site of negotiations for a treaty to end the war. President Theodore Roosevelt invited delegates from Russia and Japan to consult at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, only a few miles from Greenacre. The delegates could see Sarah's peace flag flying from where they met. Finally, the news that a peace treaty was to be signed was announced. Sarah invited the peace delegates and President Roosevelt to Greenacre for a special victory celebration. Roosevelt sent a letter of regret, and the Russian diplomat Vita also declined on behalf of his entourage, but the Japanese peace envoys came. On September 5, 1905, the day of the signing of the treaty, Sarah went to the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. Because she was well known and respected, she was given a pass into the shipyard. All of the invited guests were men who held important positions. Sarah asked to witness the signing of the treaty. She was not allowed to do so, but an Elliott man by the name of Alfonso Staples saw her and invited her up to his office in the adjacent building, where he pushed a table up to the window and had her stand on it and look across to the room where the envoys were to sign the peace treaty. In a newspaper account in 1905, Sarah is quoted, "The candle across the way threw out its cheering message, and with a feeling at my heart deeper than any words can convey, I said softly to myself, 'How far that little candle throws its beams,' and I breathed a prayer that this time might be the last, that a peace treaty would need to be made to end a war between men who should be brothers." In 1912, Abdu'l-Baha came to Greenacre for a week as part of an 8-month journey across America. He and Sarah visited the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, and again he confirmed her vision of her beloved Greenacre. Greenacre has evolved over the years and exists today as a beacon of hope and progress for many. Abdu'l-Baha predicted that Sarah Farmer would in the future be seen as the envy of the queens of all regions and the rival of all the celebrated people of the world. And perhaps, as both of them envisioned, the world will establish a lasting and sustainable peace.